first line of defense against any pest, whether it's four-legged or feathered or six-legged, is barriers. That's the most effective thing that I've found. You can see I wasn't paying attention and I didn't cover these soon enough, and the flea beetles got to like these are radishes and these are kohlrabi, and the flea beetles got to it. So then I sprayed with Diatomaceous Earth for the flea beetles and then cover with this insect netting, and you can see there's really no flea beetles in there now. So they're sort of gone. And yeah, so insect netting is sort of the first line of defense against insects anyway. Now, we're in North Dakota, and you might think that's a hard region to grow in, but I mean, we're fortunate in some respects that we don't have, at least I don't have a lot of insect pests because our winters are so cold. You know, we don't have overwhelming amounts of slugs and snails. A lot of the insect pests die off during the winter, so we're sort of fortunate in that respect. I use it mostly on brassicas because the biggest problem I have anyway, and I think probably North Dakota has, is flea beetles, and it's effective against those. You can see that they're sort of growing away from so if you can get rid of the flea beetles, exclude them, it'll grow away from any damage. So these radishes will be okay, so I can harvest them probably in another few weeks. As far as other barriers, so the reason I'm building this fence here is to keep out the four-legged pests. So the other thing I have a lot of problems with is voles. So the voles can't go through this mesh. So that keeps out voles, at least in this part of the garden. Yeah, so there's a list called OMRI, O-M-R-I. So, and anything that's acceptable to the USDA for organic is on that list. So you have to check there first. Yep. As far as other pests, cabbage moths, you can use Bacillus Thuringiensis. Thuricide is the brand name of bonide that's most popular. So that's a bacterium that will infect the caterpillars and kill the caterpillars from sort of the inside out. So I only use that on broccoli and cabbages, really are the only things that really need that. And yeah, you just spray it once a month or so, or if you get a heavy rain, I'll spray it again. So that's pretty effective. I considered buying nematodes for the flea beetles, because they're the only beneficial insect I know of that will take out flea beetles. But they ended up going away. You know, what I did was pretty effective, so I didn't do that. I don't purchase beneficial insects, but I do things to encourage them. Like these pathways I've discovered are wood chip, and the ladybugs like to hide out in this stuff over winter. And so this is really good for overwintering ladybugs. I have water sources, streams around, so we get lacewings that will come in, and lacewings are pretty effective at taking care of aphids as well as the ladybugs. One of the things about organic certification that people don't realize is it's more than just a list of chemicals you can't use or things you can't use in the garden. So you need to set up an organic systems plan that includes encouraging the local ecology, improving the local ecology, and that's a big part of it, is the insects. So there's two different things. So this is the insect netting, and I don't have any row cover out here, but row cover goes over the same way, over these hoops. You know, I think these are 54-inch hoops, but row cover goes over the same. But row cover looks more like cloth, right? And it's more opaque than this, but it still allows some water to go through. Row cover is better at trapping heat. So you use row cover. You can use it to exclude insects, but it cuts down on the light. This cuts down on the light a lot less, especially, so it's more useful in the summer. But the thing that row cover does for you is it traps heat. So you use a lot more in the spring, especially in the spring and late fall. And there's different weights for row cover, but I use sort of a medium density row cover. Yeah. Okay. Yep. Or it'll probably be another couple weeks. I'll put up low tunnels, cover them with clear plastic, and so that's pretty effective against frost as well. Row tunnels are a little bit larger, so it's a little easier to operate under. The thing about row covers is you have to sort of move them aside to get in to manipulate your crops, whereas the low tunnels, you can just sort of pull up the sides and work under the crops, and it's a little easier to manage, and a little better frost protection as well. So I'll put row covers on probably, let's see, I planted Mizuna up here earlier in the week and arugula down here. I'll probably put the low tunnels over those and keep those going probably until early. This is a low tunnel hoop. And so the idea is they'll go over rebar stakes that have been driven in the ground. They'll just slide over the stakes and then you wrap plastic over it. It's essentially a high tunnel, just smaller. This is only going to stand this tall, but you know, compared to the row covers, which are down here, you know, I can lift up this plastic, and the way it's wrapped, it'll stay up and work under it, and it provides more frost protection. This is sort of a medium density row cover, but you can see it's woven. It's more like cloth. It's not really see-through like the netting, and so this will trap more heat, which is really valuable in the spring. You get an extra 2-3 weeks, or early. You can put things in 2 or 3 weeks. So I've never really had a lot of pest issues in the high tunnel. I've never really had aphids. And that's, I think, because the sides are open, the sides roll up and down, and the ladybugs and lacewings and dragonflies can go in and out. Like there's a dragonfly right there. So those are predators for those aphids. So as long as the sides roll up and down, that hasn't been a problem. I've had the tomato caterpillars, hornworms, yeah. So spray with BT for those. I had those last year, but the BT was really effective on that. Like I said, the wood chips allow the ladybugs to overwinter, so they keep the aphids in check. I've been really fortunate. I really haven't had any diseases in the high tunnel. North Dakota, you might think, is not a very hospitable place for growing produce, but the wind in this case works for the advantage, because this wind keeps this well ventilated. And the thing you want to have in a greenhouse is a lot of air movement to keep mold spores from developing and reduce the humidity. So you don't want it to be very humid in here. And so the open sides and the wind really help that. I have a fan going at the end, but that's probably really not necessary.